Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the TechPulse MSP Insights podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Miller, President and CEO of TechPulse and TechPulse Professional Services. We specialize in helping MSPs leverage Halo PSA to transform their business operations and service delivery. Today, we're hosting a very special roundtable discussion with some of the top integrators and experts in the Halo PSA ecosystem. We'll dive into how Halo PSA is being used across different markets, discuss unique integration challenges, and explore what the future holds for this powerful platform. Joining me today is my colleague and co-host, Christopher Scaminaci, also known as Ceej, the MSP Automator. Christopher is our Vice President of Engineering, and he's been instrumental in developing custom solutions that enhance the capabilities of Halo PSA. His insights into automation integration are invaluable, and I'm thrilled to have him here today to share his expertise.
Thanks.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce the rest of our guests today. First, we have Connor and Robbie from Renada Consulting in the UK. Connor is the founder of Renada, and Robbie is his right-hand man in pioneering Halo PSA integrations across the pond. Their expertise in the European market brings a unique perspective to our discussion. Welcome, Connor and Robbie.
Good evening or good afternoon for you guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, next up we have Chris Timm from Sondela Consulting joins us. Chris is not only the founder of Sondela, but also an author who has literally written the book on the PSA profitability. His deep understanding of maximizing the value of PSA tools is something we can all learn from. Thanks for coming, Chris.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
And last but certainly not least, Mikey O'Toole is here as an independent expert. Mikey, known as the Pope of Halo Automation, has developed the Halo PSA and NinjaOneAPI PowerShell modules, pushing the boundaries of what's possible at Halo PSA, and was also our first podcast guest. Welcome back, Mikey.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm excited for this episode in particular, and to be in such a esteemed company, every one of which is smarter than me. It's going to be wonderful.
All right, so I'm going to go around. If everyone can just take a couple minutes to introduce themselves and share their journey with Halo PSA. Take about 1 minute each. Connor, we'll start with you.
Sure. So I suppose a backstory for me, and I tell a lot of my prospects this, is I never really wanted to be here, which might sound quite ironic, right? So 2.5 years ago, I was CTO at an MSP in the UK. I've been a techie all my career, basically, and we onboarded Halo PSA when I was there. When I left that company about 18 months later, Halo asked if I could help for a few months because they had this big backlog of MSPs. 2 years later, here we are doing this full-time as consultants, basically. We've kind of just fallen in love with the company and the product. And we generally enjoy adding the value we do to our partners. So here we are. We're now obviously Renada Solutions, and we do Halo consulting. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, cool. I'll follow on. I'm Robbie, also from Renada. So I started working with Connor about 18 months ago, back in April time last year. Prior to that, I was solutions manager at an MSP. So I've been in the MSP industry for the last 10 years. Started off as an apprentice, aged 18, and worked my way up in that industry, and then finally decided to leave and join Connor last year. I implemented Halo back in 2018, back when it was actually called Net Help Desk, and I've very much seen the product grow from something that was functional, but much less of a product than it is today.
Awesome, Chris.
Cool. Hey guys, yeah. So Chris Timm, I'm an ex-MSP business owner. I owned an MSP business way back in the day before MSPs were even MSPs, and I sold that business and then went to work at Autotask in the UK. So I gained a huge amount of experience of Autotask, and then became a consultant. Again, pretty much like Connor, I kind of fell into being a consultant by accident. People wanted me to help them set up the tool and things like that. And then about the same time frame as Connor, about 18 months, 2 years ago, Halo approached me and said they're looking for, some more consultants to help them in implementing the Halo product. So I came on board and helped them with the product. And as Tyler very kindly mentioned, I am the author of PSA Profitability. So shameless plug, and it's a book all about how to become a profitable MSP and what kind of information you need to put into your PSA tool in order to get profitability information out. So that's me.
Awesome. Mikey?
So, not a published author or good enough to consult with other MSPs. That would probably drive me to commit unspeakable.
Don't worry, we're going to cut that plug out anyway.
I do, however, run an MSP and kind of operate as technical director for a second one. I am passionate about automation and platforms that allow for automation, which is how I ended up as a Halo PSA customer. And then seeing the power of their API and the relative unintuitiveness of some of their user interface for doing things, I decided I'd write a PowerShell module so I could interact directly with the API and avoid having to click things, because who likes clicking things? And yeah, here we are. I seem to have become some sort of authority on Halo automation, which is probably not a great thing for the Halo community because, yeah, I'm I'm a hobbyist whose enthusiasm exceeds his ability often.
Well, so Pope of Halo Automation, is that like, are you ordained? Do we vote you in? How does that work?
I don't recall having been ordained. I definitely don't have the cool hat designed for bunny ears, if anyone gets the South Park reference. Yeah, I'd like the funny hat, so, if the community wants to club together and get me a funny Halo-themed Pope hat, I'm not going to turn it down.
I think it would probably have a McLaren and a soccer ball on it, but yeah, you're right.
That's okay. In fact, scrap the whole thing. I'll just take the McLaren.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, guys. So we'll kind of go into kind of our first segment, which is going to be talking about integration experiences and challenges, right? The objective here is really just to kind of hear your each unique experiences with integrating Halo PSA into business frameworks and discussing not only the challenges, but like unique solutions developed, right? So we'll start with Connor for this first one. Connor, can you describe a particularly challenging integration scenario you faced with Halo PSA and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I mean, we have a saying at Renada now, and it's, if we haven't tested it, it's broken. And that kind of rings true a lot of the time now, right? And it's not, I don't like to say that, right? But that's kind of the reality. And I suppose elaborate a little bit more is, I think every new integration has so many problems that we run into. And it's not because it's not been integrated correctly, it's because it's not been integrated how we would expect it to be integrated. So for instance, we've been playing with the Avalara integration this week, and it's just a minefield for me because we've never done it before. We don't know Avalara. Why would we? We're in the UK. And there's so many things that aren't documented intrinsically for how it needs to function. The same as CSP, right? CSP has gone through so many iterative changes in the past 2 years, everyone bringing a new hurdle and something undocumented. If you have a partner with SIP, it's quite easy to do once you understand all of the 1,000 moving pieces and what they all do. I think we kind of always approach it a little bit differently now with integrations, and it's kind of, rather than us kind of strong arming it in and getting it working, we very much attack it as the consumer, right? So if we're working with a partner that's really complicated or it doesn't feature or it's not documented, we feed that directly back now to Halo, and we're like, listen, this may work as you've designed it for this particular client. And I suppose I should elaborate on that a little bit. The way Halo develop new integrations, for anyone watching this, is they build an integration based on a conditions of purchase for a particular partner. So a large client could come in, they need this integration, they will develop it for that client to do what that client needs, and that they then roll it out as we've got this new integration. The problem is that client might be quite niched in how they use that integration. So you've always got to approach it with, what can it actually do? And don't expect it to be a full feature-rich integration. So every integration has its challenges. They improve over time. And I think, a lot of the things that we tell our partners is don't buy Halo on a promise. So if you're buying it because an integration is coming out in next quarter, you're going to be probably quite upset because it might not do everything you might think it might do. So again, I think I wouldn't say there's one particular one that stands out as the hardest. I'd probably put CSP in that bucket just because there's a lot of moving pieces and it's complicated naturally anyway. But yeah, we just overcome it by harassing Halo support basically and trying to understand what it's supposed to do. Or as yesterday, dragging Morgan in a call and I'm like, can you just pull up someone's tenant who has this working to see what it's actually doing? Because I can't get heads or tails, and it turned out it's quite bespoke. But yeah, so I suppose I'll wrap it up with the way we overcome it is just battling through basically and crying at Halo and spitting our dummy out and just trying to get through it. But, we do feedback and we do get the guides updated a lot, and we do try and test them before they hit any production builds internally so we can try and firefight that for all of our partners before they hit production. And that's basically all I'll say on that one without getting too negative on my thoughts with integrations in Halo. But yeah, I think for the most part, the ones that are in there now are pretty solid and pretty stable.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I want to add to that those are all really excellent points. And Connor and Robbie have been really instrumental to getting some kind of shared community documentation built. I think without those two guys, we would be in much worse state than we're in the community, right? Because he mentioned that, Halo is building things based on a request, a condition of purchase, and they're building it usually for a very niche scenario. And those people that they're building it for are typically not using Halo in any capacity. They're not prepared to use Halo in any capacity. They just want it to work the way that it worked in their last system, right? So, but it's not going to work for anybody else usually that way, right? So there's a lot of like iterative back and forth of, hey, Tim and Morgan, the fuck's going on here? Can you help us out? But yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. And, on behalf of the community, thank you for all you guys do with your documentation. It's been really crucial.
Thanks, we appreciate it. And again, I suppose elaborating on that as well, that's why we do our YouTube videos, right? When I started this 2.5 years ago, there wasn't any YouTube videos. The documentation was very bad 2.5 years ago. The reason I started doing videos is because I kept getting tagged in post on the Tech Tribe. People were going, Connor, how do you do this? And I got sick of answering the same question again. So I did a video on it. And then they were like, can you do a video on this? And I'm like, fucking hell, all right, fine, I'll do a video on this then, I guess. And it just kind of snowballed into what we do now. So we do videos for twofold, really. One, it helps us remember it. We often refer back to our own videos all the time. How did we do that bespoke thing 6 months ago? And B, it really helps the community out with, here's how we think you want to configure this integration or this thing based on us bashing our heads against it for a few days. And that's kind of where Rob comes into Renada is Rob doesn't sit on calls all day, every day. Rob is really testing a lot of the platform for us, documenting it, finding out all the feature parity for it, and then providing it back to the community because we think that helps everyone out and that makes us feel warm inside. So that's kind of why we do it. But yeah, it's certainly a journey. That's kind of why we've led to basically is just write it down, share it out. We've got some more cool stuff coming soon. We've decided to take on the Halo PSA schema documentation. So that's going to be released in a couple of weeks, which is just been a painful job, but it's getting there all in time.
Yeah. I mean, and actually I was going to say, I think, just to reiterate what everyone else has said is, I personally find your guys' stuff invaluable, both your documentation as well as Connor's videos. And I literally, I've put a few videos together myself, but nothing as much as Connor's done on the Halo PSA side. And so I often refer to a lot of the videos and then talk to my clients about those kinds of things. Connor's talking about all sorts of stuff. So I find it massively invaluable to what I do as well. So thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Anytime.
Cool. Robbie, Mikey, anything to add to that?
No, not especially. I mean, our most challenging integration isn't a Halo developed integration, so that might offer a slightly different perspective. Our most challenging integration is our user onboarding. So early in our journey with kind of trying to automate user onboarding, we realized that the major value add was removing multiple touch points from the new user experience. Previously our clients would, they would send the new user details to their HR system or their HR person, their payroll system or their finance people, hiring managers, pensions providers. There was this list. All of them had some variation of this really complex checklist of what had to be sent where. So we spent about 8 months last year developing an integration into a single HR system you manage so that we could take input for a new starter and send it straight into their HR system. No second entry needed. And that worked incredibly well. That worked too well, because then when we showed customers what was possible, they came and they said, what about my HR system? So now we're up to maintaining an integration that broadly looks the same on the surface, but actually talks to 6 different HR system APIs. Regularly kind of gets itself a bit stuck because HR systems, especially in the UK, as it transpires, don't document their APIs particularly well. And it's been a really interesting challenge, but also a really cool demonstration for us of the power that's locked inside Halo. And if you understand how to tap it, or, and this is going to sound like a shameless plug, but it really isn't, if you work with a competent onboarding or integration partner, like pretty much anyone on this call, who can help you unlock that potential, Halo really is flexible enough to handle just about any challenge. It might require some coaxing. It might require someone to smack it with a hammer so that Halo's square peg fits through the round hole with the edges chipped off and broken. But, someone will be able to get it to do pretty much anything if they hammer it hard enough.
That really goes back to what Connor mentioned too, right? About, they produce these integrations. Sometimes they're not 100% what people need, but they iterate through them. And what's nice is that if this was like an Autotask or a ConnectWise situation, that integration would work that way, and you would be locked into doing it that particular way. Yeah, they have APIs. They're not really as flexible, right, in the way that the data is structured and linked together. In Halo, it's almost like everything has that undercurrent of maybe we don't know what we don't know about certain things. Let's keep it flexible. Let's keep the abilities, for people to do custom things open. They leave the door open for us. That's the only reason we're able to do these crazy things with Halo, right? They leave the door open for us. They let us do things that we need to do. So
yeah. And I guess another thing on kind of broadly on integrations, I do like the fact that every time a new integration comes out, we're not having to go and pay a third party to use the integration, which is common with other PSA systems. I do like the fact that we can do most things and need to integrate Halo with most things we need with either a little bit of custom code or with a Halo first-party integration that's included in our base licensing cost, rather than having to maintain 10 external companies, each licensing us some expensive connector.
Yeah. And actually, I'd kind of second that. Coming from an Autotask background as an Autotask consultant, and having brought so many Autotask customers over to Halo, you see the difference between the two. Having first-party integrations versus third-party. And some of the third-party integrations with tools like Autotask are free. Others you pay, and you pay quite a lot of money to kind of get those things integrated. And what I love is, with things like the run books and what have you in Halo, is you can pretty much make your own integration, right? So you can make it do whatever the heck you want it to do. So you're not even relying just on the first-party stuff that's built into Halo. You can just kind of extend that further and actually pretty much integrate with whatever the heck you want. So,
and a fair point.
Yeah, run books get better every release. It's huge. That's the Autotask and ConnectWise killer. Yeah, they were really rough at the start. They didn't really do much, and they break frequently when they add features to them. But their heart's in the right place on that stuff, because that's a feature no other PSA can even come close to compete with.
They're a pretty cool testament to the fact that Halo don't always swing and hit. They have a fair few swings and misses. No one's going to sugarcoat that for anyone. But they persevere. They are the proverbial dog with the bone. Like, they will keep coming back to stuff until it works. If not the way we want it to, then at least the way they want it to, which is, not quite where I want them to be. Realistically, I want them to just, sit quietly in a corner and build things exactly the way I tell them to, but that's not likely to happen.
Someday they'll build a CSP integration that you'll like, I promise. Look at that. Give them a few more years, all right?
If not, build it yourself, right?
That's right.
No one would be stupid enough to do that.
All right. Chris, I'm going to throw it over to you. Can you share either one or multiple kind of insights from your book that have influenced how you approach PSA profitability with Halo specifically?
Yeah, good question. And I mean, and I see this all the time, right? As people come onto a tool like Halo, they kind of, or any PSA tool for that matter, and they don't have any costs entered on the system for anything. They don't have the costs of their products or their services. Literally have nothing entered into the system, including things like burden rates or internal costs, whatever you want to call them. And I see that all the time. I literally see people going, well, we got the cost, or eventually they get the cost of the product in, but they forget about the cost of the engineer. And then they wonder why, they seeing massive profitability, and they're going, well, actually, we're really profitable, but actually they're not, because the engineer is costing them money. It's a resource that's, in the same way as buying a license for 365 or any of those kind of things cost money too. so the way I approach it with everyone is that's where I start, is pretty much go, right, every single cost for everything you buy, including your engineers, needs to be entered into the system, whether that be Autotask or Halo or any PSA tool. They're all exactly the same. You've got to get all of those costs in, and then and it's only once you have all of those costs in that you can get real true profitability out of the system, because otherwise you're never going to get that stuff. So that's the first kind of place I really start, is just making sure that everyone has that stuff entered in there. It's literally pretty much probably the very first call I do. So I'm like, we're not going any further until we have internal costs and burden rates entered into the system, because that's going to underpin pretty much everything you do as far as profitability is concerned.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something we learned the hard way at our MSP, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Until we went to business coaching and put that foundation in, right? It's really important to track that stuff, and it really opens your eyes to what's going on in your business.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many Halo instances I've seen.
Saw all my costs missing, to be honest. Get out of my Halo instance, Chris. My costs went, but not yours.
I'll send you one.
COD. Yeah.
So it's £5,000 for the implementation fee, and you get £5,000 for the book, and you get free implementation.
Oh wow, what a deal!
Yeah,
that's a good deal. All right, we'll do another question for everyone. What are some of the most advanced automation techniques you've implemented using Halo PSA? For this one, we'll start with Mikey.
Most advanced automation techniques. So going back 2 years, we were about a week into using Halo PSA. And at the time, I was playing with Azure machine learning models. My vision exceeding my ability, and specifically my perception of how long things take, I decided it'll be a very short job to integrate a machine learning model into Halo and analyze all our historical tickets and, do categorization and suggest responses and resolutions. And about 18 months later, we had a working, fully trained machine learning model trained on about 40,000 of our tickets that was helping categorize and suggest potential resolutions or tickets that should be linked because they might be the same issue. And yeah, it was a lot of automation, a lot of code to get it playing nicely. But it was quite nice to have essentially our own very small scale, slightly stupider ChatGPT before ChatGPT was really a major thing, sitting in Halo and kind of helping us automate. And that same integration broadly is live in our Halo instance today. It's just running off of a GPT model in Azure now instead of a custom ML model, and it is considerably cheaper, thankfully. But yeah, that was a cool automation project. Probably saves us the equivalent of 1 or 2 people, roughly.
Nice. Kick it over to Robbie.
Yeah, cool. We're fully into Halo custom runbooks. We don't do anything in really anything else. Internally, we use a lot of PowerShell, but for anything that we're doing with customers, we're trying to do everything natively in Halo. Just one, to make sure that we understand the absolute limitations of the platform, and 2, because if it can do it, then that's where it should be, right? Having to write something in PowerShell and have it in an Azure runbook is not as intuitive for us to build for a customer, especially as opposed to building it right into their Halo for them. Obviously, a lot of what we've done previously is on YouTube, and we kind of show that stuff off. The one that comes to mind recently is we did the new starter and leaver process with one of our customers using SIPS API. So again, a form filled out in Halo. We went a bit further than the video shows for them, but we built things like a check to see if they'd filled out the form, or if it was an email ticket, and if it was an email, we sent them back the form saying, actually, you do need to fill out the form. You can't just send us an email, and all that kind of stuff. And then fired off the actual new starter or leaver automation. again, using SIP's API to do the kind of heavy lifting on that side, scheduling the jobs and all that kind of stuff. We did also very recently, we've just taken, so our documentation, we do inside of a tool called Bookstack. And I've very recently finished off a integration to a webhook based integration to pull all of those KBs into Halo. Absolute nightmare. Would not recommend anybody does it. It also requires some very specific config in terms of Bookstack and Halo, but it does work, and it's going to be something that we're giving out to our partners. So it's important for us to have. But yeah, all good fun.
Connor, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I'm quite basic bitch these days. I don't get to do any fun stuff like that. The automations. So I basically dip my toes in this when they first come out, and I just automated things to make my life easier. So when we get a new client coming on, they fill out a form. I throw all that data to the systems that I need. So like my zero captures their currency based on the form they fill out. Like anything that makes my life quicker is what I automate. About 13 minutes worth of work and it's done. Some of the cool stuff we do, and Robbie didn't mention it a minute ago, but we've done some auto deployment of PBXs. So one of our partners, they have a form that their clients can fill out on their website even. It comes into Halo and will automatically provision and deploy PBXs for them in, is it Yeastar?
Yeastar, yeah.
Yeastar. And there's like 3 different admin portals that it does that for. And it self-provisions and lets them know. And that to me is, that was a partner requirement. It was can you do this? And we're like, we'll give it a go. Why not? And it's just, for them, a bit of a game changer. They're a massive telco in Europe. And the amount of time it's saving them and error reduction. And that's the key, right? We're not just automating to save time. It's a big misconception that I find a lot. We're not making any errors anymore. It's getting done on time and it's getting deployed. And that was, again, something that Robbie did, not me. I don't get to have any fun anymore. That's my life. But we do tons with integration runbooks in Halo. And yeah, so unfortunately I can't share any good tales of what I've been doing because I just don't do that fun stuff anymore. But yeah, we've got all sorts of stuff out there in the wild now using runbooks, and for the most part, they're pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't do anything fun anymore either. Christopher gets all that.
Yeah, it happens, man. It happens. I feel you.
The clever kids did all that, right? Yeah.
Timm?
Well, like I said, the clever kids get all that, right? I'm not a developer. I don't sort of do a huge amount of that kind of stuff. I rely on people like Connor and Robbie and you guys to kind of write all those integrations, and then I'm kidding. I use them and in the business. But there was actually one I was working on though, which is also a custom run book where I use a product called eSign, which is kind of like your Adobe Sign, which is now built into Halo anyway. But that was when an opportunity is won, then it goes out to eSign, kind of takes all the information out of the opportunity, chucks that into eSign, sends that to the customer. They then fill in the envelope, whatever they call it. It comes back in, it updates the opportunity. So I have all of that information kind of captured in the system. So that's kind of one of the ones I've been working on. And then more recently, I actually I was trying to get a way to get leads that coming in from the website when somebody fills in the contact us form. How do I get that information into Halo? Tried things like Zapier, that didn't work. Tried a runbook, I couldn't really get it to work. So I actually got a guy, a friend of mine who's a developer, and he wrote a plugin to WordPress that now does that. So basically I have a form on my website, and as soon as somebody fills in an inquiry, it automatically goes in and creates an opportunity and puts the contact details in and all of that kind of stuff. It does all of that automatically. So yeah, so some cool little things, like Connor said, just ways I can try and save time, because otherwise you've got to manually key all the stuff in, and nobody's got time for that.
Christopher?
Yeah, man, I hate to really be a cliche, but user onboarding and offboarding, right? That was, I think, 3 of our answers, but that just goes to show that it's the lowest hanging fruit for everybody. And Connor made a really good point. It's not always about just, automating to make things go faster. It's about error reduction, because those things are the things that if you fuck them up, people are going to leave. They're going to quit, right? Because if you can't even get onboardings right, you're not an MSP worth your salt. So I think that, probably 3-4 years ago now, I did the first zero-touch user onboarding from Halo, right? Client fills out the form and end user portal, and all the automation happens on the back end. The user gets created, everything comes back into the ticket and all that stuff. I recently did a generation 3 of that automation, which the one on my website is really, really out of date. But now it's all driven by like a multi-tenant app registration and just your home MSP tenant. Everything pivots from there with one runbook. We can do like mirroring of access from users to another user using custom field lookups to, show, hey, I want to mirror access from this user. That's always like the most common request we get, I feel like. So the runbook actually accounts for that, returns all that data with the temporary access pass and all that stuff. Some pretty HTML because I felt a little bit ashamed about how ugly mine was, but that's, I'm really proud of that automation, particularly that, and probably my my QA automation that brings things in like multimodal data. So transcripts from phone calls get linked to tickets when agents hang up the phone. That all gets aggregated into a big QA pool where we're looking for like play-by-play on the ticket. We're trying to suss out if there's service delivery issues. We're pulling out the sentiment and tonality. We're making sure that the categories that the agents put in matched what the category is on the ticket, what the model predicts it to be. So a lot of stuff coming in there too that eventually will be a product that TechPulse Cloud brings out. But those are my two big ones.
Cool. I think every episode we've had, the user onboarding, offboarding automation has come up in some way.
Every single time.
All right, cool. Next question, and then we'll move on. How has Halo played a role in scaling your business or the businesses of your clients? Christopher, we'll start with you.
I think that we wouldn't be TechPulse Professional Services. We wouldn't be TechPulse Cloud Concepts if we hadn't jumped to Halo years ago, right? And we were resistant to going to like a full PSA product, right? We had both had experience in previous life with things like Autotask and ConnectWise, and we weren't it. We went to like an intermediary platform like Fresh Service and stuff. Wasn't really there for us. And then we begrudgingly went to a PSA with Halo because it was a modern platform. We're like, we don't have time to dedicate to have a full-time PSA expert like you would need for, Autotask as a big shop. It was rough. I had many regrets along the road, but now, in the last couple of years, I think it's really paid off. We wouldn't have been able to scale. We wouldn't have been able to do what we're doing now if we hadn't done Halo. At the end of the day, as much as, that whole everything can piss you off about the ecosystem and, the gaslighting that the platform does to you as an integrator, at the end of the day, the net positives definitely outweigh it. It's transformative not only for the industry, but for us as an MSP.
Mikey?
I mean, Halo underpins about 90% of our processes, but we actually spend a kind of disgustingly small amount of time in Halo. If you ask me where to find most things in the Halo UI, I'm fairly clueless because most of our interactions with it are not UI interactions. But its ability to kind of integrate the disparate systems we use, to automate processes, and to deliver better client outcomes with less human effort really have enabled us to do pretty much everything since we started using it. We've almost completely transformed how we deliver services to our clients off the back of Halo. We don't have tiers. We run a fairly flat structure. We focus way more on soft skills and client outcomes than on time tracking and utilization measures. We track them, but we don't, we're not using those to benchmark techs. Our tech benchmarks are, do your tickets have positive client outcomes? Is the client happy? Were they happy with the service, the way you spoke to them, your tone of voice? And a lot of that's driven off the fact that Halo allows us to automate the kind of knucklehead, soul-destroying tier 1 crap that drives MSP techs to drink, and actually allows us to focus on kind of exciting project automation work and stuff where customers can see the real value of our expertise, rather than, we reset your print queue 10 times this month. In fact, we didn't reset your print queue once, because now ChatGPT kicks off a script in Ninja to reset your print queue if you tell us it's stuck. And nobody touches that ticket. We report on it like we touched it, because we want to show you that something happened, but no humans touched it. And the businesses of our clients, we have two clients who were kind of very, very resistant to CRMs. One of them is an IBM mainframe software developer. They store everything in flat files. We wrote them a graph PowerShell module, so they pull emails out of Microsoft 365 using the brand new modern Graph API and write them to a flat file on an IBM mainframe. It is
That's just smarter mail with extra steps.
It's my favorite bit of technology. They're taking the bleeding edge modern beta Graph API and writing to a flat file on an IBM ZOS mainframe. But they are now using Halo as their CRM of choice to support their customers with their mainframe software. They saw what we got out of it, and they borrowed some of our automations, and they're incredibly happy with how it's transformed their ability to service their customers, but also driven their profit. They weren't tracking how many support tickets were customers using. They couldn't really track like what are our issues and what are recurring issues, because it would have meant indexing 400,000 flat files that they've accumulated since the early 80s. So yeah, Halo's been transformative for them. And then we've got another customer who are just about to start onboarding Halo CRM, which is going to be quite an exciting journey for them because, again, they've resisted CRMs and they've got paper files. Ooh. Literal boxes.
Okay, but did they get mugs when they onboarded?
Sorry?
Did they get mugs from Halo when they onboarded, or am I the only one that didn't get a mug?
No, I didn't get a mug either. Timm at Halo sent me a box of beer when I released the Halo PSA PowerShell module, but that's it.
Oh,
yeah. I didn't get one either. I actually stole.
I feel like I'm due more beer or a mug or something.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Timm is our spy outside of Halo headquarters. He goes and works there one day a week, so he just like conveniently sits there and listens for all of the gossip, and he's our man on the inside.
Also, disappointing he doesn't wear a fake mustache when he does it and refuses to start doing it. So.
And even though I'm a spy on the inside and get all this information, I still don't get swag, so I have to steal it. So I literally had a cup of coffee, and I was like, "Has anyone got any swag?" And they were like, "No, we don't have your size. Whatever." So I was like, "Well, I'm drinking this coffee," and I was like, "That's a nice mug." Washed it out, walked out. I'm like, got myself some swag. It's the only Halo swag I have, so hopefully my handle doesn't break like Connor's did. But
mine was a sip mug. Handleless sip mug is what that was. It's clearly not as superior as a Halo sip mug. Sorry, Kelvin.
Clearly not. It's pretty solid, right?
Chris, do you have anything to add or any experience to share on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much most people have said it. It's just in terms of, automation and how Halo helps you to kind of automate your business. I don't think I would be where I am without Halo. I mean, I actually used Autotask for a long time in my business as a consultant. And, I actually always used to, when I worked there, and even when I worked with the product as a consultant, I always tease them and call it manual task, because there is so much stuff in that product that is manual, and then coming over to Halo is like a breath of fresh air. I hope I don't get sued by Kaseya for saying that. But anyway, it's, just the automation side and being able to kind of pretty much automate anything in Halo, I think has really helped us to scale and to just be much more efficient and effective as a business. So.
Cool. Connor?
I think I'll spin the question a little bit on you. Rather than talking about it as a product, I'll talk about it as a company, I suppose. I joke about I never wanted to do this, right? The thought of being a SaaS consultant was like a nightmare to me. Doing the same piece of software day in, day out is like hellish, right? As a sysad or infrastructure manager, whatever the hell was before, you put something in and you're goddamn pleased when it's finished, right? You're like, right, we've done that. Let someone in the team manage it now. That project's done. Whereas Halo, it's making us learn new things all the time, not just as a company, but as a team, right? So, we're having to learn international billing. We're having to learn HTML. We're having to learn APIs at a level we never wanted to learn APIs at. We're working with companies around the world and having to learn how they operate. We're not just learning how to build a piece of software, because that's, for me, the value we provide isn't that we know the software very well. It's that we know all these other soft skills really well, right? And what we love about the platform aside, I mean, the platform for us as a business is we use it because we have to, because we consult on it. We don't actually leverage it massively ourselves. Yes, we do our sales out of it, but it's quite a linear process, and we do a quote out of it, but quite a basic quote because here's a bunch of hours, right? And here's a price. You know, in terms of a platform, we don't massively leverage it. We use it fully, of course, but we do things in there that you shouldn't do in it. Like we make our proposals in Halo, and that was Robbie in a room for a week, HTML until he passed out, basically, because it was the most arduous process. You know, we bend it because we can bend it. We do it to prove a point. But the thing is that it makes you learn things that I couldn't write SQL a year ago. I couldn't, 18 months ago, I couldn't write SQL. I never wanted to write SQL. And for 6 months, I refused to learn SQL. And now I spend all my time writing goddamn SQL. And it's just, you know, I reached a stage in infrastructure where I kind of knew what I knew. I knew enough infrastructure to get by day to day, right? I didn't want to learn any more about it. But with Halo, it's kind of, they push you all the time to learn new things. Not intentionally, but, you know, for us, that just keeps us motivated and driven is, oh, they've got this new thing coming out. We need to now learn it and bend it as much as we can. So, yeah, I think platform aside, the company alone keeps you relevant and keeps you up to date and makes you learn and keeps you interested, which is kind of the whole of law for us, really. That's what we get excited about. So yeah, that's kind of it from me. Anything you want to add to that, Rob?
I think only that the people at the team at Halo also, you know, help that as well, right? You know, everybody in this call has been in the situation of things don't work right, Tim. We need them to work right, and we need them to work right now. And they pull their fingers out and they sort it. And that is massive comparatively to what you will deal with when you deal with other companies. You know, even when we've found bugs in, you know, other people's software while trying to integrate them into Halo, you tell them about it and yeah, okay, we'll get around to it. Or, you know, it's not an issue for anybody else. And it's like, well, it's a massive issue for my client, so I need you to fix it. And Halo, you know, get on it, and they do that. And that makes a big difference to, you know, one, the product itself. It means it's a better product every day, but also makes it a lot easier for all of us to promote it and to work with it and to implement it for our customers.
Yeah.
Bit of a trigger warning there next time, Robbie, please. Nobody else has had this problem. The number of times I hear nobody else has ever said that.
Yeah.
I think that's
Connor. I was gonna ask, not to turn this too much into a discussion, but like, do you and I guess opening to Chris and Christopher as well, kind of derailing the agenda slightly. Sorry, but do you feel coming from an MSP background yourselves helps the way you approach things in Halo?
100%. So, you know, I'm former head of service CTO, which is what you refer to it more in MSP space. You know, I've been service manager all my career, basically. The reason we can only do what we do, the reason I employ who we employ, is because the system is a small byproduct of the service that, or the value you get from us, right? It's having that industry experience is paramount. And it massively affects the way I build. The biggest point of contention we all have is the way I've done custom fields, right? We had this conversation the other day. But when I explained the reason why, and the reason why I did it in my last MSP is to build the process, to build the foundation, you have this kind of, oh, I get it. It might not be the best way now to do a certain thing, but when you build it around a service and around a process, there's a lot of value to that. You know, we had 60 staff at our last MSP. We rolled in Halo. I was a part of our digital transformation, and we leveraged Halo as a point in time to deliver that. So when we're working with new MSPs now, and our vertical really is kind of the 5 to 20 MSP mark, we do have ones at the other side of that spectrum, but we're kind of in that small MSP market. That's where I'd love to sit, because we can really help them and influence their decisions. I don't have a cookie cutter approach to building. That's not who we are. It's not you must do it this way because I say so. It's how do you work? Here's what I would do to alleviate this problem. And what we're finding now with our partners is we actually have a lot more MSP-based discussions rather than the product discussion, right? Connor, we've got this problem with our staff. How would you technically fix that? Well, let's go back a step, right? Before we start adding 65 categories they've got to select and 500 buttons they've got to press to technically solve a problem, let's address the people first. Are we training them? Are we documenting this? What other platforms have you got to assist with it? It's not always a technical solution that you need. Our tagline is elegant solutions. And what that really transpires to is we want to find the best way to solve a problem, not the most technical way of solving the problem. And, you know, sometimes there are better ways to do it, but having that mindset of we need to grow this MSP, you know, as responsible, last MSP was going from, 5 to 10 million. That was our growth strategy. And it's how are we going to achieve that? And you start with the people in the business, the tech surrounding it is just that, is tech, right? And I think MSPs are bad for this with Magpie into softwares without understanding the why. I think, and never tell Halo this, we turn down a lot of partners and turn them off going to Halo because it's just not the right time for them to do it. They're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it because every other MSP is doing it and they're seeing the success stories. What they're not seeing is the hundreds of hours lost and the lost revenue and the lost time and the headaches that came because they're not understanding the outcome or the products they want at the end. So by going through that journey ourselves, right, we had to migrate because our system couldn't do anything. We went through an acquisition at the same time. It was painful. And by having that experience as at an MSP, it helps you relay that in a way of just make sure this isn't going to be an easy ride. It will be fun at the end, but that's 3 to 6 months down the line. So I think my insights, and again, that's why we've got Rob, we've got a new guy coming on, and I will only personally employ from MSPs because I think that industry insight is so valuable to the service we deliver that I couldn't imagine training a solutions architect to just learn the solution without having the understanding of the vertical that they're operating within. So a long answer there, Mikey, but yeah, I think it's quite an important question. So yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it without having that experience personally.
Yeah, I think that's called the inverse Halo strategy, right? Only hiring from the industry.
Yeah,
but he really nailed a lot of it. Like, you're on a roll today, Connor, because you can't. People are like, well, why am I paying so much for an implementation from an onboarding partner? That's why. Because you're not paying for somebody to just build the platform. If you were just paying for somebody to build the platform, then Halo's professional services would be perfect and they would knock it out of the park every single time, but they don't. You're paying for somebody that has industry experience to look at the way that you're implementing your processes while you're building them in Halo. And that's, your approach is the same as mine, where, we were like, okay, how are you operating now? What does that look like maybe in a best practice that we've seen across 20, 30, 40 different MSPs? We built it this way. We feel like this is maybe a really good solution. What do you think of this? And it's really important that you're towing that line of, I'm not coming here to tell you how to run your MSP. I'm coming here to tell you how to get the most out of this platform operationally and technically, right? Because you can't just build your ConnectWise or how many times have you guys been asked to build the drag and drop dispatching from ConnectWise for C-level into the Halo platform? Like, yeah, you can do it. But is that a waste of time and effort and you're not getting the most out of the system? Yeah, somebody should be telling you that. They shouldn't just acquiesce to you saying, hey, build it this way, this way, this way, this way. We want to build it exactly the way we use it in TigerPaw. Okay, well, what's the point of switching platforms then at that point, right?
Before I knew better, this is a couple of years ago now, I literally copied Freshdesk functionality, button names, everything into Halo because we weren't getting anywhere. Right, it's about 3 hours in, and I'm like, I asked for them. I was like, "What are we doing? We're just having conversations about what we can do, and no one's making a decision on what we are going to do." I said, how do we start somewhere, right? And we ended up, I literally copied Freshdesk. It was bizarre, to get them moving, right? And I wouldn't do that now per se. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? In life, you've got to learn. Halo's changed a lot in 2 years as well, but yeah, it is about, we call it devil's advocate, right? I like to challenge our partners a lot, and you're paying me to challenge you. Yeah. Robbie will often drag me on calls and he's like, got this really bizarre billing a la carte setup, Connor. Can you just come in and have a chat with him? And I'll get dragged in and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the value? If they sell me it, great. It's your product, it's your platform, you're paying for it. But let's work through this as a bit of a workshop together and understand it. Sometimes I go, do you know what? I can't make this any easier for you. You've got a complex setup. I respect it. This is the best way to achieve it. I had a call today with a big partner in America, and I ended the meeting. I was like, I'm going to email you what I would do if I was tackled to reform this MSP to make this way easier. Sent this big email. It was, take it as you will. Like, I'm not saying you have to do it, but if I was in charge, this is what I would do. And there's the value in that, right? We've worked with, 200 MSPs now around the world. If an MSP is doing something really bizarre I've not seen before, that raises a bit of a light bulb in my head. And I'm like, oh, why are you doing that? Are you that far ahead of every other MSP? Are you doing something so off piece that is making you really painful? And the reality is that, right? It's, why are you doing this? No one else is doing this. I'm still waiting to find someone that does something completely crazy and it like sets the standard. But reality is we're a service industry. It's probably not,
We should talk.
We're a service industry, right? When it all comes down to it, is how well do we support our clients? All the other stuff around it is bells and whistles. You could be doing something really, really cool, fancy, high tech, but how good's your support desk, right? And that's what it boils down to. I often say Halo's a fancy emailing tool. Don't shoot me, anyone. But, like when we're going live, it's what's the most important thing? Can you email the client back? Yeah. That's all they care about. They don't care if you've got an automation that does 6,000 things for you. They care if they log a problem they can't print. You can reply and go, I'll remote on. That's what it boils down to. Everything else around that we can fix as we go. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but yeah, it's I'll just stop there. I could rant all day. Not rant or go on about
Tyler gets back on track. Sorry, Tyler.
I mean, if I can say, well, I'd follow that with saying, I don't think Halo could be set up by somebody that doesn't have industry experience. I mean, we don't call ourselves PSA consultants as such. We call ourselves MSP consultants because we kind of consult much more on the MSP side. It just so happens we do. They're using Halo or some kind of PSA, so we help them on the PSA side. But it's very much about helping an MSP to align their business processes, as you've all said, into Halo, and how do we kind of do that in the most efficient way. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think just getting back to Mikey's question is, does industry experience help? And absolutely, I think otherwise you just become a button clicker or a whatever it is. You're just going to go next, click. Why does this do? If I click this button, what are the ramifications of me clicking this? Right? What's going to happen later on by me setting this setting? Right? And that's where I think the industry experience comes in. A lot of somebody going, well, the shit's going to hit the fan big time if you click that, or if you don't click that, you're going to have all these other ramifications later on down the line. So it's having the industry experience and having kind of come from an MSP background that kind of really, really helps with that, rather than just being there's a tick box here and I have no idea why. I've just been told to click it, and let's click it and see, right? So.
Yeah, I think that industry experience basically delineates if your onboarding is going to be clicking boxes with friends or an actual onboarding to a PSA platform, right? Yeah. Because I mean, we've all probably had implementations like that where they're dead set in their ways. It doesn't matter if what they're doing is just completely ridiculous.
Our implementation. We got a bunch of workflows that were tried and tested by other customers, but we didn't get this is how you fit Halo to your workflow as an MSP. We got, this is how Halo is configured. You click here and you click here and you type this in, and this is what your workflow should look like because this is the workflow we use. We had our onboarding, disclosure, our onboarding was done by Halo. And part of the thing with me asking that question was because Halo don't typically hire a lot of people with MSP experience. And I wanted to understand how you guys felt that related to the onboarding experience, and it sounds like it's crucial.
I think it depends on who you are as well, though. So I had Halo onboarding, kind of. I bought a block of hours that I had to buy a few years ago. I didn't want any, to be honest. I'm kind of glad I did. But my engagement is I was brought into this company as CTO, and I was basically told, make us more profitable, right? I'd built probably 6 help desks by now and ran teams all my career. I knew exactly what I wanted to build. I just didn't know how. So my sessions with Joe Waits from Halo, who's a good friend of mine now, was literally, I think I ruined the guy, was I would try and do loads of things, get stuck, write them all down, and I would ask him as many questions as I can in an hour, as quick as I can to get the answers out. And I literally ruined that guy. But I spent hours. I built Halo 3 times, to be clear. I had a script that flushed it when I first built Halo. I self-onboarded service desk in 3 months, and that was 3 builds. And I'm not just talking a few hours a day. I'm talking like 12 to 14 hours. This is me, and this is kind of how I work, by the way. Like 12, 14 hours a day, all day, every day, for 3 months to get it where I needed it to be. But I knew what I needed the outcome to be. I knew what I needed the data to look like. I knew exactly what I was trying to build and trying to replicate because I had this tried and tested method. For some people, Halo onboarding is fantastic if you just need answers to questions. If you need to know, and small MSPs really struggle with this because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they need. They don't know what they don't have, So when they go to Halo, well, how do other MSPs do this? Well, only if you're a seasoned Halo consultant that's done it a lot of times do you know that answer. Well, these other 10 people did this, but they still don't intrinsically understand why, because they've not sat in the seat of the person that has done it and understand the output. They've done these builds, but they don't know why they're doing it, which isn't always a problem. I didn't need them to tell me how to build Halo. I need them to tell me, can I do this thing I want to do? Yes or no? And that works for some people. I think a lot of the time these days, people move in PSA and actually think it is a big opportunity to reform their MSP and rebuild it and actually start from nothing and go, right, we're going to do better this time. We're going to improve it this time. I want help from someone who's done this a lot, who's got experience in this. And that's where we come in. But as I say to all my prospects, we're not right for everyone. We're quite expensive because we really hire ourselves as high value, but it's not for everyone. If you just want someone to help you tick some boxes, go with Halo or another consultant who does that. But again, everyone has their own verticals, right? And own niches. And we kind of sit in that. I will get you a really solid, fully built Halo quite quickly, as opposed to showing you how to click buttons.
You heard it, everyone. He told me he'd get me a fully built Halo, and he didn't mention a cost.
No,
it's on video.
It's expensive.
We're not cheap.
Damn it!
You know, Connor.
You get what you pay for.
I was going to say, you know that Joe Waits has a dartboard with your face on it next to his desk, right? And
that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the guy does sales now. He's done with onboarding, so I don't know if that was me doing that to him or not. But yeah,
I watch him every day. I go to Halo, and he's like got these darts, and he's like, I'm just gonna
genuinely
eyes all the time.
To be fair, it's probably not just Joe. It's probably the whole team.
Yeah,
They'll gather round.
Yeah, exactly. It's all like, and
Tim's there, Morgan's there.
Yeah. Well, and you as well. I mean, your face is huge, Robbie. I mean,
yeah.
The whole slide is taken up with your, like they just kind of. Yeah.
We do harass the Halo team. I'm not going to lie, but we do it with the right intention.
They're a good bunch of guys.
We try and kind of filter it as well. So we only try and harass them for things that we think are quite important. Tim's question is, who does this affect? And I'll be straight and I'm like, yeah, it's just me, mate. I want to do this thing and I can't do it. Have a few beers. I'll email you later when you're
Tim loves those.
Tipsy.
Those are his favorite.
Yeah. I said, 2 a.m. Tim, just dev this in for me. It'll make my life easy. But, for the most part, if we're vocal, it's because it's going to affect a lot of partners and we see it coming, right? And we want to make it better for everyone. It's not, we're not an MSP. We don't need to do a lot of the things in there. I don't even have CSP. Why would I even need it? But if there's something wrong with it, we'll report it and be like, hey, let's get it fixed. So, yeah.
And that's something that we're all like uniquely positioned to actually spot, right? Because maybe even Halo doesn't. The problem is, you nailed it earlier, is that they don't have context on a lot of things in the industry, right? Because they may be like very well versed in the product and they understand why the product might work the way it does, but they don't really understand the context of the operational component that couples to that system, right? We built this thing, but we don't really know why it works the way it does, but it works. It fulfills the need. But we're in a position where we're in a lot of instances all the time. We see, MSPs all over the world doing things different ways, using different systems, using Halo in different ways. So we're in a good position to be like, hey, Tim, this is super fucking broken, and everybody's going to be super mad. They're going to have their pitchforks, and torches out any minute. Might want to take a look at this, and we should probably start charging for that. But
I don't want to even think about how much time we spend a week internally testing Halo. Like, it's obscene, the amount of time. Every release note we go through, we pretty much test everything on it. We've got 3 instances in different beta builds. We spend an obscene amount of time because we know if we don't, it's only going to bite us in the arse in a month's time when it's released into stable and all of our partners have a problem. I've tried to charge them. They didn't want to be paid. Didn't want to pay me, so we'll try again next year. But no, we do.
That's in the mail.
Yeah, we'll see. We just do it to add to our value, right? Like the Adobe Sign integration that come out and that was broken. Fed it back straight away, and it probably fixed now. I don't know. I've not tested it. But we do these things because we care about the product and the company, but also our own partners, right? So it's kind of like a well-rounded relationship, and because they are receptive to feedback, we give it more because we know it's heard. If we just got back, we know. I won't log any problems with them. I'd just be like, it's a Halo problem. You log it yourself. But we take it on because we'll keep on it and we'll test it. And, it's kind of fun. I like it when we get it. It's been fixed in 2 days, Connor. Fantastic. It's great. Brilliant.
And that's why I like working with Halo. As I've said before, I've come from an Autotask background, and if you mention my name to anyone at Autotask, they're like, Chris, who's he? Never even heard of him. So I can log as many bugs or anything as I like, and it's like falls on deaf ears. No one cares. No one gives a shit. At least with Halo, exactly as you say, it's the kind of thing where you can go, well, yeah, this is broken. We need you guys to fix this because it's only going to make the product better. It's going to make us better as consultants. So it's going to actually make us able to implement your product better and create much more stickiness for your customers. They're going to stay. Whereas if we didn't do that, or Halo didn't do that, then we'd end up kind of in the same situation, I think, as a lot of these other PSA tools where people just leave because things don't work the way that they should and stuff like that. So it's a great company, and I do love working with those guys, and I do think they're a really good bunch of guys. So
it trickles down into the community, right? Halo's got the best community by far. That Discord is a resource for a lot of people. Somehow, the individuals on this call, we managed to basically cover Halo support 24/7 in the Discord, but it's resource rich, right? And everybody's willing to share in this community, which is what has gotten, Halo to where it's at today. The 6 people sitting on this call, we're all competitors, right? Like, we compete for onboarding and professional services business, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We're all, buddies. We're all helping each other out when, something's broken. We're bouncing ideas off of each other. That's a really valuable thing that, you don't really get in the other PSA ecosystems. Those people, they keep those secrets close to the chest, right? So.
Yeah, and I mean, and just to kind of bring back the whole community thing, that's the whole MSP community as a whole, is kind of everybody. No other industry I know of has competitors that go in a room and kind of sit down and talk to each other and share ideas and share best practices. So that happens in the industry as a whole. And I think, and again, sorry to keep bringing up Autotask, but, there's other Autotask consultants that are literally competitors that wouldn't even give me the time of day if I saw them at a conference or saw them wherever, because they just want to compete for the business. And like you say, we're all competitors, we're all friends, we're all kind of, help each other out. And that's what this industry is all about, because the more we do that, the better it's going to be for us, the better it's going to be for Halo. And ultimately, it's going to make us a better and greater community, and make us better MSPs. So
cool. I want to go back to, and then we'll move on. I want to go back to something. I think Connor started touching on it, right? About you all have best practices and kind of standards when implementing Halo PSA for a client. But how do you approach Halo PSA customization to handle the diverse and complex needs of each client? There's always something, right, custom or different about each implementation. And then if you want to spend just a little bit of time sharing a particular case where you saw the customization that you implemented significantly enhanced, efficiency or operations for that MSP. And this could be in your own MSP as well. Let's start with Robbie.
Cool. Yeah. Probably one of the most fun ones, which we did recently. We had one of our bigger MSPs. They had a system internally that they used to use on their old PSA, which was they called it a customer that's in jeopardy. Right. And it was a customer that might leave them. Right. And so what they wanted to do is highlight to the staff and to the account managers and everybody within the business of what was going on with the tickets for those customers. Right. And they wanted a really nice, easy way to highlight that inside of Halo, but then also, drive notifications and that kind of thing. So what we ended up building was we built a run book for them, which allowed them to, in the UI, they would go and mark the customer as in jeopardy. And when they did that, it would fire off and go and make all of the users at that customer important users in Halo. So they would get the lovely little star next to their name. So whenever a ticket got logged, we could see it. It was really obvious to the technicians. This was important. We needed to work on it and take it seriously. We can also, of course, do notifications and all that kind of stuff off the back of that, which was really nice. And then, hopefully a few weeks or months down the road when that was no longer the case, they could unmark them as in jeopardy and it would go and undo all of that work. And it would actually keep, if there was an important user before, it would keep them as important still. We had built in some logic for that and stuff. But that was one which when they asked us about it, was something which I didn't have a good answer to in terms of native functionality in Halo, which doesn't happen that often. I wasn't, there wasn't an instant, oh, you just turn this setting on, or you just press this thing, or you just mark them in this way, which took a bit of getting around to, but it works really well now.
Mikey?
Custom module solution.
He's never built one of those. I don't know what you're talking about. This guy has never automated anything.
We don't consult on Halo. We're the ugly duckling in this sea of swans because we just use Halo as an MSP.
You're the last tier of escalation for all of us. So really, you're all, we just don't pay you.
So our approach to Halo PSA customization is really about handling our internal operational needs and needs of our clients. Our approach tends to be somewhat chaotic and half-cocked. We have a robust and well-documented change control process for any change in a customer environment, which inevitably means that when it comes to change in our environment, there is absolutely no process or rules at all, and it really is the Wild West. So I'm surprised we get any finished customizations running. But in terms of our customizations that really enhance operational efficiency, it was sinking a lot of time into working out and tuning what information we get out of Halo and how we get it out. So we're now at a point where, absent email invoices and quotes being copied to our finance mailbox, we don't actually get any emails from our Halo system at all. Nothing comes out to us by email. It is all webhooks or feeding. We have a few Microsoft lists that are fed by Halo to do various status tracking. Bidirectional, you'll be pleased to know. So we can go and, drop down a thing in a Microsoft list and it'll go and update Halo and vice versa. And that's kind of pretty cool for us efficiency-wise because we spend a lot of time in Teams. We do ticket interactions via Teams. So we have our custom Teams bot that's integrated into Halo. So our responses to tickets often aren't in the Halo UI, they're in the Teams UI. The bot sends a message with what the customer sent, we hit reply in Teams, type a response back, and it sends it out through Halo. And yeah, allowing us to kind of avoid that UI switching thing that MSP techs spend so much of their time doing, hopping from one platform to another, is probably our biggest efficiency driver. We have so much tied into Halo now, and we're centralized so much on very few vendors, Microsoft, Exclaimer, trying to think who else we've got now, Keeper and Huntress, and that's about it as our main vendors. We've got them all integrated to each other. We're talking between APIs, so we don't really dive into their portals very much beyond initial client setup. And yeah, being able to run everything from almost a true single pane is huge, and Halo sits at the center of that kind of universe, which is why I was so pleased with the Halo way. Their promise not to be acquired on that rolling 10-year basis, because them getting acquired was my nightmare scenario. Having to unpick this and try and rebuild it with another solution.
Yeah, at that point, I think if that ever happens, we all just band together and build our own PSA, because it's not going to happen. I'm not going to take everything that I've built apart and put it into Automator.
You're going to have to scrape
rather die.
The bridge I jumped off, but sure. I'm
exactly.
If I survive, I'll help.
Cool deal. Chris, Tim?
Yeah, I think how I approach the customizations and things, I think it's pretty much everyone said it kind of all around, understanding what the automation needs are for the customer, and then, helping them to automate that through custom run books or what have you. I had an interesting one where, a customer was looking at a way to kind of, pretty much do everything. And I think it's probably been done before by a bunch of you guys, but, when they create the customer in Halo, to automatically then have it, created in Hoodoo, and then kind of, updated in kind of a bunch of different systems, and kind of have that whole automation flow. So helping customers with that kind of stuff, but just trying to understand, like, what is the need? How do they need to have whatever it is that they're doing, and then helping with that. So yeah, there's been some interesting ones, and then of course the one I mentioned about the in my own business doing this e-sign thing, where I had a customer that, because I'm inherently a very lazy person, right? I don't want to do a huge amount of work. I want to have the system do it for me. So it's very much a case of, opportunity comes in, I win the opportunity, I sit back, I fold my arms, everything happens in the background, including sending them a Calendly link for them to book the session with me. All of that is completely automated, through Halo. So
cool. Anybody have any, as far as like an MSP, right? Onboarding new customers. Does anybody have any cool workflows or automations to make that easier? I mean, Chris touched on a few things.
It was probably one of the first things we ever tackled in Halo, was trying to get that enter a customer once and be done with it. But here's the kind of confession time, and Halo might come after me for this. Our source of truth for customer data isn't Halo. Our source of truth for customer data is Dynamics 365, which we were starting.
All right, get him out of here.
Build.
Get him out of here.
We were starting to build into our PSA system before we went with Halo, which was how desperate we got with the PSA landscape before we came across Halo. We were building our own off Microsoft Dynamics 365.
Okay.
What do you hate yourself,
Mikey's not allowed to talk anymore.
But we have it so that Dynamics feeds Halo, which is great because Halo has a native Dynamics integration, which is actually really robust. It's probably one of their older integrations. It's been around for a long time, and it's very well polished and pretty stable. So Dynamics will feed Halo. Halo will then go out and feed almost everything else except Curricula by Huntress, because their API doesn't allow us to create customers right now, and we're working on that hard. We're nudging them hard on that score. Give me a right API.
Yeah. I didn't even realize, and we had a customer ask us that exact question. Off I went, thinking, yeah, that's fine, it's easy. And then I looked at it and I was just like, wait, where's the post request?
Read, get.
And they went straight to their Discord. Surely I'm wrong here. This can't be how this is. Oh no, okay, never mind. We're working on it. Fine.
Yeah. So yeah, we pretty much integrated it end to end, and lurking in various MSP communities and kind of seeing people chat, like the number of people for whom this is a major issue with their PSA platform in 2024, like the number of people who are like, oh yeah, if we don't enter the name just right in QuickBooks Online, it duplicates in our PSA. It's like, why are you creating manually in any platform? These like why isn't that the kind of the low hanging fruit that everyone goes for? Yeah, it's quite interesting that it's still a hot button issue. It really is.
I think the irony though is we've never built a tool or an integration runbook to do majority of the integrations we work with every day. We just haven't got round to it. It's on our list of things to do, but we don't have a runbook to make a customer in Ninja. Why? No idea. But just never built it. And there's so many integrations coming every day that the task just gets longer and longer. We've got it internally, but that's for our systems that not many people use, right? But we've done integrations, right? We're like a DNS full of integration that is absolutely amazing. But what we're really trying to work with Halo on is I'm trying to get Robbie away from writing custom integrations that are bespoke to a client using custom attributes in Halo, because they're not transferable, or they're very hard to be transferable. So the DNS filter one, which we're going to release in a few months, I think, with Halo to the online repository, will ubiquitously work across every client. So if you want that integration that we've written using a runbook, go to the repo, install it, it'll work. We're trying to make these for clients that will work across other clients without us having to go, right, you want this to work? Well, Robbie's made 16 custom tables with 100 custom fields with this stuff over here, and we've got a feature request for this GUI to appear in here. And we do bend the platform a lot, but I think for the most part we've just not committed yet to building that master sync tool. And I think it's because in my heart or head, Halo should do it. Why should I have to write to Ninja to create the client? Why can't Halo That can't be a lot of code. If I can write it in, Halo can sure do it. They're way more intelligent than we are. And I've always had this, do I want to spend loads of time building this thing that Halo should do? Or should I just sit and wait for Halo to do it? Because if I spend, or if Robbie, not really me, Robbie spends a week building this Ninja integration and Halo drop it next
Poor
week.
Robbie.
He has. If I spend a week doing it and a week of Robbie's salary and then Halo release it, that's like a waste of money and time. So we kind of sit and wait, right?
But only if they do it right the first time. So
Yeah.
That's the chicken and egg problem. And we onboarded 2 and a bit years ago, and I'm still waiting for some of these things. I built them myself, but I'm still waiting.
I'm still waiting for 4.5 years now. I have an email from Tim. I don't anymore. In my old inbox, I have an email from Tim 4.5 years ago to tell me he was going to put a trigger for feedback being left on a ticket. It still doesn't exist. And I asked him the other day and he said, yeah, it's coming in a few months. I'm like, pretty sure you told me that 4 years ago. But, we'll get there. We'll get there. Day one after that's released, an ecology integration will exist. It's unbelievably simple. Feedback is left by a tree. Incredibly simple integration, but we can't do it until that comes.
We can do it with a bit of a hack. We do a custom SQL report, grab if it's got feedback. But it's just like, it's gross, right? And it's not something we'd ever release or want to build, because if you sit and go, Connor, how you done that? I'd be like, you don't want to know that. You
want to know.
You don't want to know how the sausage is made.
You feel like the SIP
exactly.
right? That webinar that Prime Networks did with on the SIP and SIP. We had so many messages saying, Connor, can we have that? And we're like, no, sorry. And I'm like, why? I was like,
absolutely not.
It's gross. People are willing to pay a lot of money for it, and I've said no, because there's way too many moving pieces and it's way too complicated. And as soon as it breaks, they're going to look at us and go, well, Connor and Robbie built it, they need to fix it. We're not selling it as a service. So we do these fun things with partners who want to learn it, and hopefully over time it matures a little bit to a stage where we can just copy it to the online repository, and if it breaks we can push it up again and it will fix it. At the minute we don't have that luxury yet, and it's early doors, right? What they've been out for now, less than a year, integration runbooks. They've come a long way, but it's just about, I think for me now, when we touch on that topic, it's about thinking about how long it's going to take and the investment, and always asking, is it worth it, right? Is it worth the time to do what we're about to do? And if the answer is no, or even maybe, we just don't do it. We're like, just wait a bit. Halo will inevitably do it.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is Robbie making 12 custom tables for the next 6 hours worth saving 1 second or 1 click on 10 tickets a month? Probably not.
There's an XKCD for this, isn't there?
Yes,
there is. Yes, there absolutely is.
All right. Let's move on. I have a few more questions, and then we'll wrap up. But I guess, what advice would you give to new MSPs, right, or IT professionals who are just starting to work with Halo PSA? Like, what would be your top 1 or 2 tips? We'll start with Connor.
Oh, that's a question, isn't it? I need to be very careful what I say here. There's many different audiences right now. So always want to buy consultants from Renada 100% every time. Don't waste your time. Just go with us. No, I think so. I did a podcast about this recently, and the podcast was basically titled, when's a good time to move PSA? And my answer was, never is a good time to move PSA, right? It just never is a good time. It's always bad, right? The product at the end is good, but there's a lot that goes into it. So my advice is, really understand why you're leaving the product and do a lot of due diligence on the product. I say about this like Moscow charts, right? Write down what you need, write down what it should have or could have, and then, really analyze what it is you're trying to do and aim to get live as quick as you can with a minimum viable product, right? Try and get in as quick as you can. Stop building complicated workflows. Stop even looking at AI or runbooks. That's further down the field stuff. You need a functioning help desk in your new products as quick as possible. You need your billing set up, your agreement set up, core functionality. Don't just rush it in over a weekend with service desk, because then you're in the platform and it's much harder to improve on a platform when you're in it. Something we say to partners all the time is, I'm not going to rush go live. If we miss it by a week or 2, we miss it. You can only go live once. You can't go live again. I've had partners who have had Halo, then got rid of it, and then are coming back again. It's lessons learned. So yeah, just understand why you're buying it and make sure you have that solid, this is what it's going to do for us. And then just, understand what the product can do and actually test it. We speak to a lot of prospects who have trialed it for an hour and decided to buy it. And I'm like, have you tried the CRM? Like, have you built out the sales workflow? Because out of the box, it's not that great. Like, here's what we've done. There's about 40 hours here in dashboards and all this complicated like database lookups that you don't have right now. Can it actually do what you need it to do? I've even sent a quote out of it. Like, how do you quote currently, right? And they just don't test these features because they're kind of wowed by, there's all these shiny things that I'm never going to use. We have live chat now in our PSA. Not many people use live chat. What are you buying it for? What problem is it solving? So to recap it is, understand why you're buying it and really, really spend some time testing it. And I would always recommend chatting to a third-party consultant just to get their agnostic opinion on what you're trying to do before you buy the product. If it's not right for you, I will tell you it's not right for you. Halo won't like that. But, we want partners who are going to come into Halo and stay with Halo on a journey with us for as long as humanly possible. And if the product's not right, you're going to hate me for suggesting it. You're going to be resentful of the company who told you a promise that doesn't deliver. And all around, it's going to be a poor experience. So, just slow down a little bit in your decision-making process with purchasing a new PSA and just spend some time. Breathe a little bit. That's my big advice. Breathe.
Christopher?
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment, right? Like, there's a lot of people that we talk to as consultants, and some of us talk to the same people all the time, right? One thing I'll tell people is don't just talk to me and make a decision. Go talk to Connor, go talk to Quentin, go talk to all the other guys and see who you fit best with. Because sometimes it's not about technical ability. It's not about the way you build. It's just a personality match, right? And like we're asking those probing questions of, what are you doing for quoting now? We know what the weak points of Halo are comparatively to other platforms, right? And we're trying to suss out if you're going to be a good fit or not. Because if you're somebody that doesn't want to make any kind of operational changes, you just want to buy Halo because it's what everybody's doing, you're not a good fit for Halo. You need to come into a Halo implementation with the right mindset of, I don't know what I don't know necessarily about PSA technology nowadays, and what are my end goals? What am I trying to solve for? If I'm just buying a PSA to change ticketing systems, that's not a good use of my time or money. If I have no real operational things to solve with that, right? Like, what if you're going into this with problems like, I know that my triaging takes too long and I have to click 800 buttons in ConnectWise to log time and all of these things. Those are good actionable insights that your onboarding partner, your implementer, can use to bridge that gap between you and what you need, right? And I'll follow that up with things like knowing what your expectations are going in, right? Don't think that you're going to get a completely bespoke instance that can do absolutely everything in the world. It's going to be perfect 100%. And you think that you're going to ride that for the next 15 years because you're not. Things evolve, right? You have to be willing to change your mindset and go into a Halo implementation with the idea of, I'm going to turn my business upside down as part of this PSA rebuild, right? The people that come into a Halo implementation, they come to me and they say, Chris, I'm ready to redo everything. We've been running on ConnectWise for 15, 20 years. We need to do things differently because we can't scale. That's usually like the most common complaint I hear is like, we just can't get any more out of what we're doing in our processes or in our PSA now. And we're willing to strip everything down and start from scratch, rebuild, right? Those people are the most successful. Those people that take their time and they go through and they think about operationally how clicking these buttons in this order is going to affect my business. That's the best thing you can do, right? Yeah. Talk to all the onboarding partners. Get a good idea of what your roadmap's going to look like. The people here, we all don't build very differently. There's not really a whole lot of variation. I think that if anything, all of us being in communication all the time has kind of shown that at the end of the day, there may be some slight variations on processes and things that we do, but we're all kind of building within that range of tolerance of each other of because naturally it's just the best way that certain things flow through Halo, right? and you can't beat perfection in certain cases. So, to recap, know what you want out of the platform before you even look at it. Don't play with the demo and think, this is what I'm going to do. Wow, look at all this stuff it can do. Because you're not going to use any of that stuff. Just like Connor said, you're not going to use any of that stuff. What you need is to be able to email somebody and do a ticket, right? If you're going to do a build on your own, I don't recommend that, but start with the accounting integration. I think this is the most common,
Yeah, 100%.
That was going to be
thing that
my
I see.
point. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. People build it backwards, right? They think that, I'm going to start with service desk and build my way down. That is the opposite way you want to do it. You want to build from the accounting integration up. Everything's anchored to that accounting integration.
Yeah.
It's like building a pyramid upside down. So that would be my two big things.
You guys can hear me now?
Yeah.
No, you're quite quiet. You're very quiet. I think your mic's like outside your room or something.
Just to add to
Is that better?
that's much better.
Okay. Fair enough. It's been sitting over there for months, and now it's over here. Sorry about that,
You've gone
guys.
quiet again,
You're
Chris.
still really quiet, mate. Like genuinely.
Okay, is this better?
That's perfect.
Yeah. Just sing into it.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there, guys. I literally just froze up, and the whole thing died, and I had to kind of reboot and come back in.
We figured you were like, screw those guys, I'm going to bed. So.
And they say, Macs never give you any issues. I'm here to say Mac is just as bad as bloody Windows.
Mine's been solid, mate. Not gonna lie, it's been sat here chooching away.
Yeah.
Chris, the question was like, what piece of advice would you give to new MSPs or IT professionals starting out with Halo PSA?
Yeah, great question. And I think I kind of caught the end of what Chris was saying, and it's literally, know what you want before you get the product, right? Do your due diligence. Lots of people end up buying Halo because they want a service desk, right? So they go, well, I need a service desk, so I'm going to go and buy a PSA tool. Well, it's the most expensive service desk you're ever going to buy if you're going to just buy it purely to do service desk. And, I think you mentioned about delving in and making sure that you get your billing and your contracts and agreements. Kind of start with that and make sure that you kind of have all of those things set up first, because that's going to underpin everything we do, right? That's what we want to do as MSPs, is understand our profitability, understand how much our customers are costing us, who our most profitable and least profitable customers are. Without that information in there, you can enter as many tickets as you like and add as much time to tickets as you like. But if you're not going to be able to attribute that to any specific customer or, agreement or anything like that, then kind of what's the point? So it's really, starting with that, but don't go into this getting a PSA tool with, wanting a service desk, because it's not a service desk. You've got to kind of implement every single feature and use every single feature and functionality of the PSA tool. I mentioned that in my book. Sorry, just a shameless plug in case I haven't plugged it.
All right, we'll edit that out again. Don't worry.
I think to echo that, it's quite a valid point as well. We get involved with a lot of builds where people have used it for like a year or two, right? And we turn on the billing module, or we go into invoices, and there's like 4,000 tickets ready to invoice. And it is a nightmare to tidy up. Like, it takes hours to try and tidy up. Like, how do we report on, how profitable this client is? I'm like, this is a nightmare. Like, this is hard now. Like, because you've not built the foundations in place. You've not built any billing templates or got any agreements in place or done any of the foundational stuff, right? And now we've got to try and tidy it up while you're still using the platform, right? Which is then like even more headache stuff. That's kind of the work I do a lot with partners. Is Rob gets all the fun stuff, build us this new stuff in. I'm like, tidy up this build, and I'm like, this is hard now. Like, I think the word had like 25,000 tickets to be invoiced, and I'm like, it's gonna take hours on the API to just mark these as not billable or needs to be reviewed. So just I keep seeing a lot on Reddit at the minute, actually, and I'm not going to knock the guys, right? You've got to start somewhere, but a lot of people on Reddit keep saying, oh, they've recently got Halo, they've just done ticketing, and I'm like, you've missed a massive part of the point of a PSA here. If you want a ticketing desk, buy Zamad or Request Tracker. They're free, open source. It'll do your service desk tickets really well. If you're buying a PSA, though, you want to get the most out of it. Not saying you need full feature parity on day one, but foundational stuff, service desk, billing, agreements and contracts if you need them, invoicing if you want to report on profitability, which is kind of the whole point of a PSA.
And
right?
burden rates.
Yeah, burden rates as well. We do a lot of that. We've done some really good reporting recently, like Agent Insight dashboards. So you're looking at what is the cost of our staff. And a lot of MSPs don't even know their burden rates. So we help them try and work out how to calculate their burden rates, right? And it's just having that data in. I mean, agent cost in Halo is a little bit annoying because if someone gets a pay rise, that affects all historical data, but that's a debate for another day.
I didn't even know that, and now I'm horrified. Thank you.
Same.
So for the recording, for anyone who cares, an agent has a cost per hour. That's their burden rate, and that's locked in time. So it's not locked in time. That's just the value. So when you report on profitability or burden rate, it is what's the cost of the agent. Well, it's not a table. It's not they were paid £50 in January and now they're paid 60. They're paid 20 and now they're billed 40. I had a partner recently. How do I handle pay rises? Quite simple. Don't give pay rises. They'll screw up with burden rates. So again, one day we'll shout at Halo and be like, can you make it a table, please, so we can track what their pay was over time, because then we can report on what were they paid at this time when we did these tickets.
I've actually already asked that question of Halo because Auditas does exactly that, right? It has the table that, you were on 20, you're now on 40, and then you can start reporting from that date on.
And now we've got to write the disgusting SQL to work out how it works. Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. There's going to be another unlabeled table that's got no columns that make any sense. Yeah, I'm horrified actually because now I have a ton of reports I have to go rewrite. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know it wasn't I didn't know it was locked in time. So that's alarming. Yeah, but I will echo your sentiment that the number one way to get somebody to not do your implementation is to say you're going to Halo only to use the ticketing. That's the most expensive ticketing platform you can buy. Go buy Zendesk if you only want ticketing. If you have no intention of using any kind of billing or invoicing or even to synthesize your invoice in Halo, you don't need a PSA. You need a ticketing system, right? Yeah.
Which,
so
to be clear,
people come to me and they're like, "I'm not going to bill out of Halo."
That's fine, right? You don't have to do that, right? And this is a big misconception I think MSPs have is, we all need Halo. You don't. If you've got recurring invoices out of Xero or QuickBooks, and you're tracking your cost and profit in there, and you just wanted to support your clients because it's a small part of your business, do that. You don't necessarily need Halo straight away. Can it unlock your business and provide features down the line? 100%. We turned away a partner recently who was probably just a little bit too small for Halo. I said, spend this money on getting a few more clients in and get a member of the team and then revisit Halo, and then we can start growing your business, leveraging the platform more. At the minute, what you're doing is perfectly fine. And that's fine, And I think you need that agnostic opinion because Halo are Halo, right? Their motive is to sell their product. I get that. I love it. It's how they're growing. As consultants, that's not our driving force, right? It's we want, and again, to echo your point earlier about chatting with other consultants, we do the same thing because you're locked into quite a lengthy engagement with us. And if we're not singing from the same hymn sheet and are getting on and having a laugh, it's going to be really painful for everyone involved. And there's no fun in that. We try and have as much fun with our partners, and we've built some really unique relationships now. We've got a small subset of partners that we fully love and help with and go above and beyond because it's a relationship. And I think when you find a good consultant, you want to stick with them because of their insights and knowledge.
Yeah. The last thing I would add to it is to start small, though, is to not try and do sales and projects and quoting and all these things on day one, and understand that it's going to take time. And if you do want to get you do want to get to that utopia of everything, understand that it's probably going to take you 6, 9, 12 months even, because you're going to want to build the service desk and, get your billing and things sorted. And you're going to want to iterate on that as well. And the iteration, it's always talked about in development and things, but it's very much a process that you will go through with Halo as well. You will continuously iterate. When I left my MSP, our standard ticket workflow is absolutely massive. It looks ridiculous. It's got like 30 different steps because we built on it over years and everybody understands how it works. I would never, ever, ever implement that day one because it wouldn't make sense to anyone and you wouldn't understand how to use it. And that is important to understand, that starting simple, working with simple processes, keeping the platform simple means that when things go wrong, you know why, rather than if I drop in a massive workflow and something goes wrong, you sit and scratch your head for 3 hours as to what the hell happened here.
Yeah. You can't just drop a templated build in, right? And I think that this is something that I've seen pop up with unofficial onboarding partners in the past too, right? Where people just sell templates. And they'll just push a template into somebody's instance and be like, okay, there you go. You got Halo built. Good luck.
So we did that.
No.
I don't anymore. I did it when I first started because we were based on churn. how quickly and how many MSPs can I get in? Now, it was always coupled with consulting. However, that build is still given out to partners, and it kind of makes me cringe a bit because it's like 2 years out of date now, and I don't build that way because things have changed a lot. But, it was for us at a stage a solution to a problem. Halo had this massive backlog. They needed MSPs in. MSPs wanted to get in. How quickly can we do it? Here's those pre-config and stuff we've done. I'll train you for 8 hours and away you go. We don't do that anymore because we really want to train our partners to know how everything works and make those decisions with us. We don't just want to say, here's how we've built it. Here's a good way of doing it. We always tailored it anyway, but it doesn't feel right anymore. We just don't do it. We have a sandbox that is MSP geared that you see in all our videos. It has so much stuff in there. But if I drop that build in, probably to anyone in this call, you won't understand what half of it does because there's some silly things in there that I would never recommend, but it's showcasing what can be done. So we always start with a basic build now, and we build it out with our partners based on what they need and what they want, as opposed to here's how Connor would run an MSP if there was 70 of you, but there's only 3 of you, but you're getting the same build anyway. It doesn't work. So yeah, we've definitely changed our approach, and that's what you've got to do, right? You've got to adapt and change over time to be better.
We, I mean, and I have so many people who ask me kind of to give a turnkey solution. Like what we want you to do is set up Halo, make it work, and give us a working solution. And the first thing I say to them is, you're not a customer of mine, because I won't work with anyone that wants a turnkey solution. Because if you need to learn how to use this product, right? Because one day we probably going to stop working together. Our consulting engagement's going to be over, and you're going to be left holding the baby, so to speak, and you're going to have to know how to do things in the system. So I absolutely will, I don't take on any customers that want that kind of turnkey solution, just saying set it up and walk away.
Cool. All right. Very insightful. I think the biggest takeaway for me is don't give pay raises anymore. Thank you, Connor, for that nugget.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. It's a silly idea.
All right. Last question, kind of more of an open discussion question. Chris, Tim, you can start. How do you envision the evolution of PSA tools in the next 5 to 10 years?
Wow, that's a good question. How do I envisage them? I mean, PSA tools are definitely here to stay, and I think people are going to adopt them more. They're going to need to adopt them more. And especially with with tools like Halo that allow so much more integration, I think it's going to be absolutely something that people are definitely going to need to continue to do. The good thing is it also means that other PSA vendors are going to start to going to have to start to innovate, and going to have to start to actually change things in their products, some of the bigger guys, because they're going to get left behind if they don't kind of innovate a lot more. So yeah, I definitely think there's a good market, a good future for PSA tools, and I definitely think it's something that every MSP needs to adopt and needs to kind of use within their business.
Cool. Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that statement overall, right? It's where are they going the next 10 years? I think if I had to make a wild guess, I would say everybody in this space is scrambling as quickly as possible to see how much AI they can pack into a PSA. Because the industry, or our industry as a whole, the folks on this call account for probably the most advanced Halo implementers in the world. Below that, there's a tier of maybe 30 or 40 people that are really, truly skilled at PSA implementation across the board for all platforms. But then as an industry, we look at like our talent pool. It's really rough. I'm not sure about, on the other side of the pond, but on this side of the pond, it's really tough to find people that want to be in the MSP industry, right? I think the hardest part is hiring. In TechPulse, we take the approach of we can teach you to be an engineer, but we can't teach you to be a human being. So we usually start with, Mikey, I can see. yeah, exactly. I can teach you technical stuff. I can't teach you to be a human. So, you have to start from that. It takes a lot of time to kind of spin somebody up in that regard. But when you do, they're usually the best. That's a huge expense that a lot of MSPs,
in my experience.
Yeah. And I think that we're going to see the evolution of PSAs naturally to be, how do we replace Service Desk? And I think that they're going to do it wrong. And, I don't think it's, even the technology now is really good. And you can augment the service desk with AI now in some really impressive ways. Can you replace the service desk with them? I don't think so, but I think everybody's going to try, and I think they're going to fail. But I think that's where it's going. I think that they're like a dog with a bone. They're like, how much AI can we pack into this? And for the buzzword of like, hey, I want to buy something with AI and it's going to do my notes for me automatically, or it's going to suggest resolutions. Nobody's going to do it well, because the people that are making all of those platforms, it doesn't matter if it's Halo, Autotask, ConnectFi, any of them, they don't work in what we work in every day. They have no context. They have no idea. There's a reason all these platforms haven't worked well like that to date. But I think that's where it's going to go, unfortunately. Hopefully,
I kind of sit in the AI cynic bin, to be honest. I hate the idea of AI on a service desk, because we're forgetting what we are, and we're service providers, right? And we deliver service to our customers. So when I see MSPs, we want an AI chatbot to help our customers. Okay, great. I'll spin up a company that doesn't use AI. So when your client messages me, they speak to a person, and we have a laugh and we make their day, because some people are remote working, they don't chat to anyone, right? We have a laugh, we have a joke, we help them. And the thing that you're forgetting is those human connections, those conversations on the phone unlock so much opportunity for your business. If you automate remediation for everything, if you automate responses, if you candle your responses and they always sound the same, that human touch is gone. We have this now with like delivery companies, right? The whole DPD incident with that chatbot, right? The meme of it. But, the best MSPs are the ones that really connect with their clients and really connect with their partners and understand them at a business level and a human level. And I see a lot of, AI stuff coming in, and I'm like, kind of makes me cringe a little bit, like AI writing all your notes for you. Yes, they're very well articulated, but everyone sounds the same. I kind of like the nuance of an apprentice making a typo, right? And I use emojis a lot because I'm stupid, right? I use love arts way too much. But we have that connection. And I think that's really important, because without that connection, what are we? Well, Mikey runs some cool scripts, and then Christopher also runs some cool scripts. What, are you competing on whose script's better? Like, what we're going to do? Compete on speed of resolution next? Like, what? There's no value in that, right? As long as it's fixed quickly, people don't care. So, I think we'll go full circle. To be honest, I think we'll do lots in the next 3 years of AI, and then we'll start scaling it all back and using it. There'll be definitely some things that stick around 100%. It's changed our business for the better. Like, ChatGPT with report building and HTML and CSS, game changer. I don't know how we'd even live anymore without it, to be honest. But I think a lot of it in a PSA, a lot of the stuff Halo's doing is great. But I look at it and I'm like, it's not that valuable, though, is it? Like, it's cool, it's fun, but it's not going to change your business, not for the better, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. How many things have I built, Tyler, where it's like, wow, that is really technically impressive. It's useless, practically. It has no use. It completely alters the workflow in a way that makes it unusable, but it's technically impressive. That's where I think we're going to go. We're going to go full circle, exactly like you said.
We use a lot of AI in our service desk, and we've been using it since before it was AI. We've been using it, when it was machine learning, before you had to slap an AI label on everything to appease shareholders, even when it's not AI. And Connor, I think you hit the nail on the head. We use AI to categorize tickets, to suggest possible resolutions, to highlight similar issues and trends. AI does not respond to our tickets unless it is a fully automated resolution of a very simple tier 1 issue. And in that case, we are brutally transparent with our customers. They'll get a notification that their ticket is resolved, and it tells them right up front, this is an AI performed action. If you want to talk to a human, just reply, and an engineer will pick up the ticket. Like, if the AI is doing something crazy, I think our exact wording, is, if you're unhappy with this response, if the AI appears to be power seeking or is threatened to take over the world, please reply, and an engineer will look at the ticket. We lean into AI and the fact that we use it with customers, but we're brutally transparent about where that ends. Simple issues, categorization, suggestions, trends. And we do see the same trend you see in the industry of AI will respond to your tickets and communicate with your customers. And you're right, it's terrifying, it's bland. But also, haven't most of us been trapped in AI chatbot hell already with some delivery company or some customer service company. Like I got trapped in it with Uber the other day, like trying to get a resolution to an issue because I opened the app. It randomly changed my address to half of Cardiff away, like a good 20 minutes the other side of Cardiff. So I ordered something without checking the address. I'm trying to talk to their support. I got the same 3 canned responses from 6 different agents in half an hour. And that was it. They would spiel out these canned responses. I'd get, can we do anything else to assist you? And then the same ticket closure message. And that's what AI-led support looks like.
I'm not talking about that.
It gets stuck in a pattern. It can't get out of the pattern, and you just get the same thing over and over again. Yeah, no, never. I think Halo's approach to AI so far has been measured, broadly. What we've got is a fairly basic integration that is useful, opt-in, and can work in a suggestion mode rather than a I'm going to take over your entire service desk mode, which is kind of handy.
I'm not sure if
in the next 5 to 10 years, yeah, you're right. We're going to see a ton more AI, and then we're going to see a ton of scaling back of AI when people realize that it just sends their customers to places that aren't using AI as their frontline. I think AI has a role in first line support for the kind of repetitive, sort of knuckle-headed issues, but I also think MSPs shouldn't be, because we fell into this trap. It's a really terrible crutch to use for that purpose. Because actually, your response to recurring, repetitive knucklehead issues that are simple to resolve is prevent them occurring in the first place. Not have AI triage the ticket, respond to the ticket, solve the ticket, and close the ticket, because that's just inefficient. Then, preventative IT support is kind of what we're here for, right, as MSPs. I think Halo will continue to develop their automation framework. And I want to see the same thing you want to see. I don't know if we'll see it in the next 5 to 10 years, but I really want to see it. I want to see the ability to take a runbook, all the custom fields and tables that it depends on packaged inside that runbook, and be able to share those with the community as plug-and-play blocks of functionality. But I want to see that across the whole MSP stack. I keep banging on at NinjaOne about it. I should be able to publish a script that has comments in it that when you import that script into Ninja pops up and says, this script would like to create these custom fields. You okay with that? You click OK and it creates the custom fields with the right permissions so that getting a script that someone has shared becomes a couple of clicks rather than please go and create these 6 custom fields with these permissions and these types. And if you get one of them wrong, the whole script is useless. The way we foster better collaboration and reduce repetitiveness and kind of help each other grow as an industry, for those of us interested in doing that, is by having tools that facilitate that sharing and collaboration. And at the moment, none of them do.
We had a really good chat with Halo last week, actually, about this, about AI, because I filmed a video on all the things you can do with it, and none of it really works. But basically, they were saying is that we was like, why is it all run books, right? Why don't you just code it in? Because it's annoying that we have to import all these goddamn run books, that there's different iterations now across different builds, and it's a nightmare to manage. And their approach, actually, very sensible answer, was we don't know what AI tool's going to be cool in the next 6 months or a year, or if there's a better one coming along. So we don't want to hard code dev all this stuff in. So we're going to release loads of run books. That way you can take the run book, alter it to how you want to work if you want to. And it also allows us to adapt and change it quickly and publish it, so you can go, oh, it used to do this, now it does this, rather than hard coding the dev work into it, which I think is a really good approach to it. It's annoying currently because I've got this version mismatch all over the place, but that is being fixed, just to be clear. We'll do a video as soon as that is fixed, because I wanted to do one just to show all the cool things it can do, but there's too much variance at the minute. But they are very aware of it, and it is getting fixed. And it's just a case of, I don't think we even know yet where anywhere is going with an AI, right? Or what tool's going to be using it. Currently, we've got Azure and ChatGPT, but there's probably a lot more stuff in the background we don't know about being developed that could be more powerful or more intelligent or better, just all rounded, right? So I think their approach is really actually quite clever. Took me for 6 actually when they said that. I was like, no, you're right. I hate you're right, but you're right.
Yeah, I hate when you're right, Tim, but you're right.
Literally.
We did a survey of our customers last week, and we started analyzing the responses yesterday. centered around AI and what they were thinking about it and what they were looking at. And 80% of our largely non-profit customer base are using AI. 0% of them have a responsible or acceptable use of AI policy governing what tools can be used. Most of them have put client data into public AI systems like ChatGPT. None of them realized when we described a scenario as a kind of, what do you think about this? None of them had kind of realized that it was perfectly possible that in 6 months' time, ChatGPT will verbatim give that client information back to someone who asks for something similar to what they asked. And it kind of led me to thinking, like, how many MSPs, how many of you guys have like a responsible use of AI policy in your organizations? Like, how many of you have sat and thought about, what does responsible use of AI look like to us? Where are we drawing our limits right now? Because we didn't. We have now, but a week ago we didn't. We didn't have a documented kind of, this is our approach to AI. Our approach to AI was kind of, yeah, let's try it. Let's see what it's like. It's cool. We've been doing it for a while. We're masters. And actually writing the policy made me realize we didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue the risks that were there, and kind of like setting guidelines around it is way overdue already.
How do we as providers think about the consequences of all of these Copilot products that Microsoft's releasing? I have a pretty large client that's asking us to turn on or off certain Copilot features for certain subsets of things in Microsoft, 365. What's my liability if I turn that on for them and I'm not constantly overseeing it and they do something with it, or data leaks or something like that? This is like, we're at a whole different ballpark, right? This is uncharted territory. We don't know really what our liability or our exposure is as an MSP when we're making these suggestions to people, or when we're turning these technologies on. Like, are these supposed to be under our management? So yeah, I agree. I think an AI use policy, and like, really, what's our ethical, responsible use of AI policy for both internal use and for our client use? Do we need our clients' consent to use their data to fine-tune models, right? Where are all of it? I mean, and sure, it's much more strict for you guys. Obviously in the wild, wild west over here, we can do pretty much whatever we want because, data is a person or something. I don't know. But it's scary. It's scary. I think that as an industry, we're not prepared. And we're all just jumping headfirst into it without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and the horse is well and truly bolted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the scariest things about it is, as we're getting AI to kind of answer our customers' queries and tickets and what have you, all it's going to take is for our customers to ask a question about, how do I change something, and for the AI then to present our competitors' blog posts or something back to the customer to give them that information, right? That's kind of the scary thing, I think, as to where AI is going, and it scares the shit out of me to kind of use any AI stuff. So
there are some funny examples of like delivery company chatbots when ChatGPT first came out, and you'd ask DPD's chatbot, what's the best kind of package kind of delivery service of theirs, like what level should I send this parcel to get it here and have it insured, and it would come out with stuff like use UPS or use Yodel.
Yeah. Every time I encounter one of those bullshit chatbots that are obviously very poorly assembled, I try to use it to like write code. I try to jailbreak them. I'm like, write me a PowerShell script that draws an ASCII middle finger so I can send it to Mikey, and you just consume tokens through, and like you find that the vast majority of those bots are not well designed or implemented, and you can totally make them do anything you want. Scary stuff.
Robbie, anything to add?
I'm going to go different, and I'm going to say the things I want Halo to do, and I'm going to put it on record.
Make
on record, here it is.
You want Halo to have, and it doesn't.
I mean, there's lots of things, but the things which came to mind to me at the moment are, we've been doing loads of stuff around dashboards, and I would really love to be able to get data from external sources and display them in their dashboards. That would level up their dashboard capability massively, right? And then fix all the little tiny UI problems in the dashboards. Why do I have scroll bars in every single widget in my dashboard? Why does it not just scale properly?
Just sort yourself out, mate.
Why is every widget a separate report as well, right?
And I'd love to see some more stuff around dashboarding. Being able to, I came up with the idea the other day of like dynamically adding where clauses into all of the reports in the dashboard that you could type in. So I could just specify clients, and then we could just
Okay, I had the same thought the other day. I was so convinced that Halo wouldn't have missed the opportunity that I thought it was already a thing.
Yeah, so they have
I
to
was trying to show
filter.
someone some dashboards, and I went to a customer and I was like, "There'll be a dashboards tab right hidden at the end for customer-specific dashboards." And I'm like, "Come on, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?"
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a major miss. Like, customer-specific dashboards would be huge for reporting.
And like you can do it today, but it's just horrible to do, and it should be nicer. So yeah, I'd love to see more stuff around that. I still haven't seen although on the flip side, I haven't seen a single use for ticket dashboards. I don't know if anybody else has made them work.
Not a single one. I can't. I've built like 40 of them, but I can't. None of them are worth using. What's the point?
We saw the first one that they produced when they released the feature, and we're like, that looks so cool, and then never used it.
Isn't that the Halo draw, like that Connor was saying earlier? Is it like, I don't know what it is about Halo, but the way they present their features is often like, it's so slick and so sexy that you get suckered into spending so much time on stuff that is actually not that useful.
100%. 100%.
Yep.
And then we talked about them a lot, but just continue improving runbooks. I talk to Morgan on a weekly basis about give me more features. We need to be able to manipulate data. We need to be able to build arrays that we can then post back in. We had the conversation the other day that with Morgan that we can't build an array and post it, but Halo's entire API is built around arrays that we need to...
Everything's an array and an array.
Even when it doesn't make sense. Single items get returned in arrays for crying out loud.
Yeah, so we had that conversation, and it's these things are on the roadmap, I think, somewhere, but yeah. And then I think the other one for me is give us the ability to do things in bulk where needed. Bulk delete users. Okay, I can make them all inactive, but I want to delete them because I messed something up. I know you need to go use Mikey's module, which is amazing, right? But you shouldn't need to in order to just delete a bunch of users.
I will say I personally hate interacting with Halo support and getting told to use my own module. And I hated it especially a week ago when I talked to Halo support and they sent me a link to my own docs site with one of my own examples for how to do something.
Love it.
The amount of PowerShell that Robbie writes for us repeatedly to do bulk things is infuriating. We've got like 50 SQL reports now just for bulk operations.
Abusing the SQL reporting for like bulk operations in Halo is like it's the secret sauce that keeps Halo moving. I'm convinced now. I'm convinced that everyone doing anything advanced in Halo is just abusing reporting at some level.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
One thing I'd tack on to like your wish list, Robbie, because it hasn't come up yet, and it might be on your list. Why can't we merge things? Why can't we merge contacts or clients without using the API? Like, what kind of CRM didn't add merging in the 90s?
Clients, you can now. Latest release.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at that.
So it's coming. It's coming. But yeah, it's crazy.
Slowly.
Yeah. You say it doesn't come up until somebody points it out and they go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then again, Tim will dev it in next week in those sort of scenarios. But yeah.
Okay, Halo. Those are our demands. Comply or else.
That's a small list of
this
100,
has been the Integrator Manifesto.
Yeah.
The irony is, though, right?
The Integrator Manifesto plus Mikey.
We're like, no, we're agnostic. We're not tied to a product. We can consult on anything if we want, right? We're not any NDA with Halo, which we can only work with Halo, right? Well, there's nothing else that I'd even want to consider. Like, the reality is there is not a single PSA that I would even entertaining consulting on at all. It's not worth it. The juice is
Just
not
attaching
worth
to what
squeeze.
Connor said, I am deeply tied to Halo. Please don't fire me as a customer. I'm not with these guys.
Yeah, we're a law of our own. We'll move anywhere we want. There's just nowhere else to move to. And the thing is, we've spent thousands and thousands of hours now over the past 2 years learning this godforsaken platform that I didn't even want to learn this much. I'll be honest. I had no desire to do this, but it's been fun, and it's the backbone of our business now. Without Halo, I don't even have a business as it currently stands, which is kind of a concerning point. But we are as much tied to Halo as you know a lot of MSPs are now, because it is the bread and butter of what we do. And yeah, having stuff like this will hopefully help them understand where we come from and what we're not necessarily struggling with, but you know what we're trying to do, and we're trying to add value, right? Because I see this as a ubiquitous relationship. They help me, I help them, and it grows. We grow together. If it can't do something that a client needs, then I can't help that client. If they dev it in 3 months and I can help the client, well, then there's value both sides there. So, yeah.
And you were talking about like, you know, you wouldn't want to, you know, consult on any other products. I mean, I consult on both, and Autotask is a god awful product. It's horrible, and at least, you know, for all the faults that Halo had that we just mentioned, all the things they don't have, it's a freaking breath of fresh air in comparison to some of the other shit that's out there. I mean, you know, I used to think Autotask was like the best product on the planet because, well, it was pretty much one of two, right? It was either ConnectWise, which was even worse, or, you know, or Autotask. And consulting on both now, I absolutely love consulting on Halo because it's just such a much better product. And you know, we've talked about it throughout this whole podcast about, you know, automations and kind of taking it further and doing a lot more with it. And, you know, products like Autotask and ConnectWise are so rigid in terms of how they work. And so, yeah, I'm pretty pleased that I'm actually, you know, consulting on the Halo side, because I really enjoy that. Actually, I was getting to a point where I was getting like really bored of Autotask. So for all the things we don't like about Halo, there's a lot more to not like about other tools. So
yeah, that's an important point to stress.
It's also that they're a joy to deal with, like in pretty much every aspect. But also, like when they drop the ball, we've had some long running and kind of very tumultuous support experiences, like infrequently, but they're there. They own it, you know. They don't hide and go, oh well, it was just a freak. They're very self-critical, which is good.
Yeah, we love our US Halo team. Thanks Tim for hiring them.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up. Thank you all for joining us. I know it's past your bedtimes, but it's a lot of good nuggets of information here. And I think, you know, something was said earlier in the podcast about, you know, Halo, the importance of community and sharing information. It's a really close-knit community. And so I think most of these guys hang out in the Halo Discord. If you want to stop by and say hello or just make fun of Mikey, that's fine too. I think most of you are in the
give you an insulting custom role.
We also have a TechPulse Professional Services Discord. I think most of them are in there as well. We'll link them both in the show notes, so you can come hang out with us.
Somewhat incestuous community.
Yeah, we're all related, right? We're all brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I'm
guys
from
talk
Norfolk.
about it.
That's actually true.
Cool deal, guys. Again, thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts. Thanks for everybody listening. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Cheers.